Students. So today we are about to start a new chapter, that is properties of matter. So it's about material and matter. Now, before we start this chapter, the first topic that is there in the book, that is pressure, density, those things. Now, we know that any kind of matter is made of molecules, and if we zoom into the molecules, then we can see these molecules are made up of atoms. So individual atoms are uh, in a bond with each other. So this bond is can be covalent, or there can be coulombic. Okay, so there are certain types of bonds. But in physics, which is important, that though we consider this bond as rigid, but in practical, so what is a rigid? Rigid means the length of the bond is constant. But in practical, this is not the situation. We know that this length cannot be constant, because if you talk about Coulombic bond also, so Coulombic bond means they are together because of the Coulombic attraction. That means the charge is the attraction of the charges opposite poles. So this length cannot be constant. This length can either be stretched or be collapsed. Now, because of that thing, because all of these molecules are not rigid, like their bond is not rigid, that's why when you compress the material itself, the intermolecular distance changes, and that's why you can even deform the matter. Now, let us first talk about density. So we know all that density is nothing but the amount of mass, that means amount of matter, that is present per unit volume. So you can write the density rho is equal to mass by volume. So from this we can see that mass is equal to volume into density. So this thing is called rho, and somewhere you can even find d for density, and that's why it's very like easy concept. But when we talk about density, we consider the object to be homogeneous. Now what is homogeneous? Homogeneous, the word means, let's say if you have this object, so that means the homogeneous means the distribution of matter is uniform everywhere. That means the amount of mass that is present in, let's say, 1 cubic centimeter, and the amount of mass present in this section, that is in this 1 cubic centimeter, will be same. So it will not be such that the mass is high in this place and mass is low in this place. So in those case, what will happen? The density will be different for different part of the object. Okay, so basically sometime it happens for amorphous solids, where the distribution of matter is not uniform, and they are called heterogeneous matter. Okay, hetero means where the distribution is not uniform. But whatever we will be talking about, those objects will be basically homogeneous. We will at least assume that. That means the distribution of matter everywhere will be same. Now one more thing will come when we are talking about deforming the solids. So we are talking about deformations. So how we can deform a solid? So in that case, the thing that will come into role, that is pressure. One new concept, that is pressure, like one new quantity is coming. Pressure is told to be force acted per unit area. So pressure is equal to force by area. So if we talk about dimensional analysis, we can see that force dimension is mlt to the power minus 2, whereas area is L square. So I can easily write this is ml minus 1 t to the power minus 1, and the unit of pressure will be Newton per meter square, that is force per area. So sometimes this Newton per meter square, let's say 1 Newton per meter square, is also told to be 1 Pascal PA. So instead of 1 Newton per meter square, I can use 1 Pascal as well. Okay, now if we talk about, so this is about the quantity, but if we talk about the physicality of pressure, so how to understand, like why pressure that quantity is required, why force is not enough to explain everything. So in order to do that, what I will do, I will take an example. Let's say we have some molecules like this, okay, one after one. Okay, let's say I will draw it, it's better to draw, so I will draw it. So let's say there is a surface, so this is the surface, fine, and I have what you say, so this surface is having lots of molecules there. So there are so many molecules which are packed together, and let's say this is the surface of a cake. So it's a cake, it's a hard cake, not a soft cake. So, and I have a knife. So in the knife, the first case, so in the first case, in the knife we have the knife is not sharp, and we have 3 molecules, that means it's a blunt knife. So it's a blunt, so it's a blunt knife, and in this case what is happening, so here I will again draw the cake. So there are 5. So this is the cake in second situation, and in second situation the knife is not blunt but it's sharp, so there is only 1 molecule. Now I am giving, let's say 6 Newton force here. So that means this 3, when this knife will come in contact with the cake surface, so you can see that these 3 molecules will share the total force, and as a result, because these 3 molecules will come into contact with the surface, so they will share the force. So each of these molecules of the cake will have to tolerate only 2 Newton, 2 Newton and 2 Newton. So each of this cake molecule is also tolerating 2 Newton of force, because total 6 Newton is being shared with this. But if we talk about this situation, the second situation, here only 1 molecule, so 6 Newton is being given, and this molecule is bearing the 6 Newton, so there is no one to share the force, and that's why when it will come in contact with this molecule of the cake, so this molecule even have to share 6 Newton. So that's why, because this cake molecule is having a lot of force upon this upon him, so what will happen, this can go away, like this can be shifted somehow, or this can be disrupted. But this 2 Newton is, in the first case 2 Newton is less, so they can tolerate it, and that's why with a blunt knife it's hard to cut anything, whereas with the sharp knife it is easier to cut anything. So that's why the area, this area plays a vital role in order to see the effectiveness of the force sometime. So that's why not only force, because force given in these 2 cases are same, but because of area the result is different. So the result is different. So that's why we can say one thing clearly, that we need some quantity where area and force comes together to play the role, and that's why we have this pressure. So you can see that whereas the area is decreasing in the second case, we have a higher pressure. So P, this H is higher, so P is more here, whereas P is less here, right? Pressure is less because area is high here, so denominator is higher, so pressure is less. So that's why pressure plays a important role sometime in order to see the effectiveness of the force. Now let us say that let us find out the pressure due to fluid. So now the pressure due to fluid or inside fluid. So if we have a beaker like this, and let's say this side is open, and then we have water right here, and I want to find out the pressure here. So what I can do, I can write, see here, we know that pressure P is force by area. Now if I consider a cylinder here of water, so you can see that for this cylindrical surface, what is the force, why the surface like the bottom part of this container is having force? What causes the force? The weight of this whole fluid is causing the force. So if we find out what is the weight of this fluid, then I can find out F, and that's why I can find the pressure also. So let us take the density is rho. So rho is the density. So rho is the density, and then we have, so I can write here that force is equal to, so let us write that side, force is equal to mass into gravitational acceleration. Now we know that already, that we can relate mass with density and volume. So I can write here that this is mass is density, that is rho into volume into g. So if I put it here, so pressure will be rho volume. Now you know the volume of this is pi r square h, if r is the radius of the cylinder, into g by the area is pi r square. So you can easily find out a relationship, that is rho hg of pressure. That means for any fluid, as the height will increase, the pressure will increase, and as the density will increase, also the pressure will increase. So if you have the if you have two beaker of same size like this, but let's say in one of the beaker, let's say there is glycerin, another one is the water, so you can see easily that the pressure for glycerin will be much greater than pressure of water, because density is higher here for glycerin. Okay, so glycerin and water, and even you can see that if the height is increasing, then also pressure will increase. Also it depends on the g, so pressure out in here, that is in earth, and the pressure in moon will not be same for the same fluid. Okay, and so these are basically some of the vital point. Okay, now this was all about your pressure. So as you go deeper and deeper, the pressure will increase more and more. One more thing is there, that is Pascal's law. I think many of you know already. So Pascal's law says that if you have a point P in the fluid, that is immersed in the fluid, so the pressure in all of the direction will be same. Okay, So the pressure, the value of pressure from all of the directions are same, and that is called Pascal's law. Acha. And something more is there, that is a pressure is a scalar quantity. So we can write that this is a scalar quantity. So it does not have any direction, though force is having a direction, but area is also having a direction, but pressure is not having any direction. So this was all about pressure. Now we will come to our uh, deformation again. So why we have talked with deformation? Because we have seen that we can easily change the intermolecular separation of any kind of gas or any kind of object. So based on that, there are deformation, and we can calculate those deformations as well. So what causes the deformation? Something like pressure that causes the deformation. So there will come two what you say terms. So first let us talk about this. Let's say I have a cylinder like this. Let's say I have a cylinder like this, and in that cylinder what I'm doing, I am giving some force. So let's say I have given a load here of mass m. So downside mg force is acting because of this mass m, and if this part is fixed here with the ceiling, so what will happen, this object's length will be increased. Fine. So the new length will be L plus delta L. So what is delta L? L is the initial one, and delta L is the change of the length because of this mg, because weight is suspended. Acha. Now so what will happen, so the intermolecular distance will increase, and as a result the whole solid will be elongated a little bit. So here two terms are very important. One is called strain. So what is a strain? Strain is nothing but the change of the change of the length divided by its initial value. So it's kind of relative error we have done, right? So it's kind of same kind of formula, but the thing is completely different. So strain is what is the fraction of change, okay, with respect to its initial value. Okay, and another term will come, that is stress. So which is just like a pressure. So stress is our force by area. So it's kind of similar to pressure. So in this case force is mg, and area, we know how to find out the area of a cylinder, like cross section, that is pi r square. So this two term is very important here, strain and stress. So stress represent the cause why it is elongated, and strain represent how much it has elongated. Now here comes a law which is called Hooke's law. Now what is Hooke's law? Hooke's law, we can remember then when a spring was there, and I told you that when we were studying potential energy part, I told you that when you compress or elongate the spring, let's see, you are giving a F force here. So what will happen, if this Fa is applied force, then the spring will try to keep its original state. So spring will give an opposite force F, which will be proportional to minus H, because the displacement, that is the deformation, is happening in right side when you apply force towards right side, but the force that is given by spring is opposite, so that's why minus, and F is equal to minus kx. So from here we can see that F by x, that is force by displacement, is minus k. So if we talk about the direction only, so we can see that the value of f by x is a constant. So this is only the value. Okay, so if we draw this as a graph, we can see it's a straight line, right? So this is called Hooke's law, because here f is the stress and x, that is the strain. Okay, so that represents the strain. So you can say that this is not a strain because it's not a ratio. Yeah, we can add here. So if we add here, so let's say we can convert this equation, that is f by x, so is constant. So obviously if I do this by area and then delta x by, or x by the initial length of the spring, so that will also be constant also, because area and length is constant. So as well as f by x is constant, that means our stress by strain is constant also. So that is actually Hooke's law, that how much stress you will give, the same amount of strain will be created. So the two things will increase together. So that means the stress and strain curve will be a linear graph, increasing graph. And even we can see this thing in case of our molecules, or even so molecules are having a specific features, like if this is the bond. Okay, so bond we cannot see like this, there is no structure in the bond like that, physical structure, but there is an interaction and we can just realize that. So this bond length, this effective bond length, actually if you push them together, then also they will not be very happy to come together, and if you just pull them together, then also they will give some hindrance. So they just want to stay in that particular position. So it's kind of awkward, like if this is, it's kind of spring, you can say. So if you pull this, then also spring will not be happy to be elongated. If you push this, then also spring will not be happy to be compressed. It want to stay in its own state. So this is what you say, this is actually Hooke's law, that states that how much stress you will be giving, the same amount of strain will be produced, and this is a very vital thing. Now there are in Hooke's law there are certain changes, like if you there is something called longitudinal strain. So longitudinal strain, so what is that actually? It's that one. That means if you have a rope or something like that, not rope but some material which is long, L. Now if you have put some weight right here, that means you are giving some load, and that's why some portion is elongated, that is delta L. So I can write that according to Hooke's law, the stress, that is force by area divided by strain, delta L by L, is always a constant. So this constant is called Y, that is a Young modulus. So this is Young modulus. So the Young modulus we say when it is a longitudinal strain. In case of so this is for the long, like what you say, elongation, you can say it's all about elongation. Now there is something which is called volumetric also. So volumetric strain. So this is, let's say you have a box like this and you have given some sort of force here, and that's why the volume has changed. Okay, or it's better you can see that say that uh, let's say I have a syringe and I have closed the opening of the syringe. Here is my piston and I have water inside it and there is a bubble. Okay, so if I give the piston a push, what will happen? Because the pressure of the water is increasing, because I'm giving some force to this water to like, so that the molecules has to come more like closer to each other. So what will happen? The water pressure will increase and as a result the volume of this bubble will decrease, so volume will change. So in those cases what happens? So we can use the Hooke's law and we can write that stress, that is force by area, by the change in volume delta V by V is equal to a constant, and this constant is called beta, which is called bulk modulus. So when you see bulk modulus is written, that means it's they are talking about the change of the volume. And one more kind of strain is there, that is called shearing strain. So in shearing strain what happens? Let's say you have a block like this and then you have fixed this portion, so this portion is fixed, cannot move, and you have given a force right here. So what will happen? The book will be tilted like this, so this is theta. Okay, so in this case if we like if your theta is very small, so we can always write that force by area. So area is the cross sectional area, that means the area right here, divided by theta is your shearing strain, that is eta. Sometimes it is written as eta. So this is shearing modulus. So this is called shearing modulus, and it happens. Now why this is theta? Because let's say because see there are so many things, those are changing, like this is the displacement x that is happening right here, and if say this length is my L, so we can write that tan theta is equal to x by L, because perpendicular by base, and that's why when theta is very small, so this is near to theta, so instead of x by L you can write theta here. So why x by L? Because x is the displacement that is caused by the force, and that has been done on this L section. So that's why it's in shearing strain we have theta here. So shearing strain is this tan theta. So this is shearing strain. So there we have this kind of deformations, and these all are the Hooke's law only. They are the conclusions of Hooke's law, but the constants are different for volume, shear, and the elongation. So we have talked about Hooke's law, that it's kind of spring. Okay, and the situation is like this, always the graph is like a straight line, and but if you talk about real life situation, so we can see that this graph is very important here. And if we draw the graph like this, so let's say this is my one axis, this is my another axis. In this axis I am taking stress, in this axis I am taking say strain. So what happens, it goes like this, then it's rotate like this, then it goes like this, and maybe I have done something wrong. So first one is very straight, then it goes like this, then it's goes like this. So this point where it fails, like this point, there are so many names are there. So this point when the Hooke's law fails, like after that point, so this point is called plastic limit or elastic limit. This is called elastic limit. And after that point there is a point which is called a plastic limit, like that. And then we have another one that is called brittle, when the object breaks. Okay, so brittle point, so I'm not writing it, so it's called a brittle point. Okay. Now these are some of the very specific feature of this graph, like how if you keep on increasing the stress, what will happen. So the strain will like be like this. Elastic limit is the point up to which the Hooke's law works, that is this graph becomes a straight line. And there is something called plastic point, that means when, like if you leave the stress, the object will not come to its original shape. So a permanent disability is there, like deformation is there, permanent deformation is there at plastic limit. Now I have used here one term, that is elastic. So what is elastic? Elasticity is a property of material to restore its own state. Like so if something is having more elasticity, that means if you want to deform it, so it will give you more hindrance. So that means to deform it, to make to get a strain on it, you must apply lots of strain. So that those what you say, if this constants are more, so if your y is more, if your beta is more, or your shearing modulus is more, that means the object is having more elasticity. So if we talk about a rubber band, we think that yeah, that's a elastic object and elasticity is more in a rubber band than a steel. But you are wrong, because steel is having more elasticity, because if you want to create say strain in the stainless steel, you must apply a lots of stress to that. You have to apply more like force on that. But if you talk about a rubber band, so to create a little amount, to create a noticeable amount of strain, a little amount of force is, like little amount of stress is enough for that. So that is having less elasticity actually. So this was all about your this summary of the chapter about elasticity and the deformation of objects. So I hope you like the class, and I will see you in my next class.